Hello, everybody. Matt Mentele here with the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia show that nobody asked for, Season 10, Episode 1. And today I have a very, very special co-host for today, Brian Roberts. What's happening?
How you doing? Happy to be here.
Of course you are. So before we get into it, Brian, I just want to say this is Season 10, Episode 1, as I said, the season premiere of It's Always Sunny Season 10 and my, podcast. So all of the Season 10 episodes are up at Mentele Speaks in podcast form. This is the only one that's going to be a video. So if you want to watch along, binge Season 10, my co-host will be the Betsy Hayes. Do that. So I had to plug my own. I never plug my own fucking stuff, dude. I never explained to anybody where anything is. So I had to get that in there. So, Brian, what is your history with It's Always Sunny? When did you hop on? When did you hop off? What thoughts on the episode?
First, you mean when I first got into It's Always Sunny was when Danny DeVito joined the cast. So I guess it's season 2.
Season 2, he jumped on, forced on, thankfully, for all of us.
And then, I've been a diehard fan ever since. Of course, I went back and watched season 1 after that. But I'm a huge It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan and just think it's one of the best shows on television or on the internet or however you watch your content today.
I agree. That's why I'm doing this insane thing. So have you seen this before? Have you seen this episode?
Yes, I have.
Okay. This is I asked you to do this. I knew you were a huge fan, and you called the dentist system in earlier seasons. We weren't able to make that happen because I didn't understand technology. But here we are. It is because it's a baseball episode. That's why you're on. You are one of the last remaining under the age of 75 people that I know that likes baseball still.
What are you talking about? Go on.
It's a dying sport, but that's another.
Kids are into baseball. The kids are just dying to watch this World Series coming up with Atlanta Braves and the Houston Astros. I'm dating this.
We were mentioning. We weren't even going to watch. So, anyways, you're a huge baseball fan. That's why you got The Gang Beats Boggs. Okay, famous Wade Boggs, one of the greatest hitters of all time. Would you put him in the? He was one of the best getting on base.
Oh my goodness. Wade Boggs in the that's actually tough because when you think about the 1980s, we got to have Tony Gwynn in the conversation as well.
Wade Boggs, probably the best.
2 of the greatest contact hitters of all time. Yes.
Yeah, totally. So, but that has nothing to do with this episode because the gang is trying to take a plane ride from Philadelphia across the whole entire country to Los Angeles, just like Wade Boggs, and try to beat Wade Boggs' record. It's disputed how many beers he drank, but it's 20 to 30. So my next question to you, is this story true, you think? This Wade Boggs story?
As with most legends, I would say there's a kernel of truth to it. I would say this is the 80s, things were a little bit more lax back then when it came to professional athletics. So alcohol, smoking in locker rooms and stuff like that was allowed. So I would say on a flight from New York or Boston to Los Angeles, they probably did party pretty hard. And I can imagine Wade Boggs chugging some beers. What actually settled on in the episode though was 70 or upwards of 70, so.
Well, and you know why they picked that number, right?
I would not be surprised if he drank 20 beers. For instance, in our band, I've seen Smash.
I was going to bring him up. Yeah.
In a session without even blinking. So I know that's possible.
How many did he have? I didn't catch that. How many has Spark Smash, your tour manager, who is a large man, what could he do in a cross-country go?
Oh, on a flight from New York to LA?
Yeah.
He easily smashed 20 Miller Lights. Not even blink. Without a doubt. I would bet the house on it.
So if we take that, because Wade Boggs was no tiny man, I'm sure in the 80s to begin with. So yeah, if he's an athlete, if he can just down 20 Miller Lights, it might have been 30 or 40, 70.
30 would be like really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Doable. Anything beyond 30, then I think you get into real legend type territory.
Yes. Yeah.
And, we're obviously promoting binge drinking here, which is not good. And just for the kids out there, Mark Smash Miller is a 6'9" large man that can handle that amount of beer in a session. So
yes. We all know my demographic, young children. They love this It's Always Sunny stuff. Okay, so the gang is getting on the flight. So let's take this first. I always love, what are they going to give us the first episode of this first season? What are they going to come out? What have they been doing with their time off? So they get on the plane. Dee is confused. She thinks it's Boss Hog.
Right.
From
the Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard. Charlie thinks Boggs is dead.
Right.
He keeps saying, God rest his soul. And and Mac is the Bud Selig, which comes up quite a bit in this, but he announces it right away.
Yes. All of those things. When I first watched this episode, I just remember thinking how we're basically the same age, and we're basically the same age as the creators and actors in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And this type of like content with the Dukes of Hazzard, Wade Boggs, Bud Selig, it's just tailor made for our demographic.
Right. And we'll get to the movie references, which you had said before.
You probably have this coming up, but the movie references later on in the episode of what was it? Executive Decision and Passenger 57.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that one. But yeah, we'll get to that later.
Passenger 57 was nice.
There is an open area where all of the luggage does that cargo exist? I mean, I guess it does. We just can't get down there.
It must, but I mean, that was such a funny premise because there was that era in the 90s where these movies were being made. What was the one with Harrison Ford? Air Force One.
Air Force One. Yeah, I did see that.
To just all of a sudden, did Steven Seagal have one on a plane too? Probably.
I think he had to.
They're just able to get into this cargo hold or move freely about the cabin, not moving through the cabin, crawling through a crawfish. I'm sure these places exist in a plane. Yeah. I don't know how accessible they are just to the general passenger.
Well, it's easy for Mac to spot. So all I had about that first scene before we get to the title card, I just had Dee is making me laugh a lot early on. Do you have anything else about that first scene when they're waltzing in, kind of setting everything up?
No. Dee kind of steals that scene, although immediately seeing how funny it's going to be that Mac is the commissioner and he's going to be trying to wrangle these crazy cats the whole episode. I remember thinking oh, that's going to be good.
And he got it because he lost the chugging contest. He had to be, because Dee mentioned that. She's like, he just lost he's just mad he lost the chugging contest, and he had to be. And they're like, we're clear. We didn't tell you to be Bud Selig. You made this up.
They don't care. And I think Dennis, I don't know if it's in that scene, but Dennis, there's a couple of looks of disdain that Dennis throws towards Mac in the episode that's just spot on. I mean, as if he was just a stain on the floor, it couldn't care less. And my love of Dennis is just being the most terrible character ever created on television.
Yes.
In the funny sense of that is it plays out in spades in this episode.
Oh, with this one especially, yes. So speaking of Dennis, Dennis and Frank decide to make a side bet.
Yes.
Okay, so they're betting. These are all baseball references. Oh, we glossed over before. So they mention 70 beers was the record, right?
Right.
So what number in baseball is 70? That's important.
That's one of the through lines throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Bud Selig, performance-enhancing drugs, 70. Mark McGwire famously hit 70 home runs in 1998. I believe it was.
99?
was 1998. The
Yeah.
summer of '98 was Sosa and McGuire home run
Yeah.
race, which both of them wound up, as we later found out, to be jacked on roids, which everybody knew at the time anyway. I mean, it was definitely an open secret.
Well, we could skip around a bit because Mac does have that part where he's like, I forgot who was doing something, performing enhancing, and he's like, well, as my job as the Bud Selig of the group, I need to quietly sweep this under the rug.
D
D.
bottle of uppers, and like she had fallen asleep, and he'd already written her number on her forehead, and then
That's
she pops
right.
back up like in the next scene, and she's just jacked up on some uppers.
So that is a reference, of course, yes, to the steroid. So we have like little baseball nuggets in here all over the place. So yeah, they make a side bet, which was a problem in baseball. Back in the day was the side betting, and that's why Pete Rose is famously just not in the Hall of Fame because they needed to
So
have
upset
rules.
about the betting. Like Mac, shows up in that scene too. He's like, "What are you guys doing? You're betting here? You get bets?"
And they are betting. Well, I guess they're betting on banging a chick on there, huh? Frank and Dennis.
Which, anytime Dennis and Frank, have their own storyline, it is always the worst. I mean, it's like the worst possible human beings interacting with each other. And like the bet is a terrible bet to make. It's to see who can join the Mile High Club, which, funnily enough, Frank doesn't know about. Never. I think he had another term for it. He's like, I have this idea to do the Aviation Sex Society or something like that. I can't remember the exact alternate title he had for it, but it was just a funny idea that how would Frank not know about this? Obviously, like.
Well, he doesn't know much porn. That was another episode too. He wasn't familiar with too much porn, which is, I don't know if I believe that in his character. So I have a Charlie line here that I just fucking love because Charlie goes off and he gets a whole chicken.
Yes.
And he's just eating it, and he's just munching on this chicken. And so Charlie goes, Wade Boggs ate a chicken before each game. That's why they call him the Chicken Man. None of this is true. Like Charlie's just adding to this lore.
I think that's actually true. I think that's actually true.
Oh, okay.
Wade Boggs was famous about his how superstitious he was. And so before each game, I don't think he ate a whole chicken, but I know he would eat chicken before each game. I get a very regimented process that he went through before each game because he was superstitious.
Wow. Well, there you go. That's why you're on this program specifically. I did not know that. They didn't call him the Chicken Man though.
I don't know. I never heard of him.
I never heard of Wade Boggs the Chicken Man though. So he might have embellished that. Well, that makes it even more funny. He orders a rum and coke.
I would have known that fact about Wade Boggs. I do know that.
Well, the point of this episode almost is just taking these ridiculous baseball stories and just kind of embellishing. But who knows? 70 beers or 20 beers, it doesn't matter. The story's fun, whether it happened or not. And so next I had, let's see here. Okay, yes. Then I had D appears. She's taking the uppers. She's like, it feels like I got a rocket up my ass. Woo! And Matt gets involved, yes, to sweep everything under the rug. So I did already mention that, much like Bud Selig did in the 1998.
Such a funny through line in the episode, Mac being Bud Selig. And also a funny aside is how they were using and abusing the intercom system. And the poor flight attendant was so patient with them. And I really like the way they made her character pretty realistic, pretty straight, straight up and down, which I found funny. And, she's basically like, a babysitter having to take care of these crazy people. And you could tell in her, she just wanted to get to their destination.
Of course. Yeah.
People there. Which you probably have this coming up in your notes, but again, Dennis and Frank poisons a guy, the college kid, because they're worried that he's going to take their beer. I mean,
That was a little confusing to me.
The most, illegal, terrible things in anytime they have a setup in these episodes. Like Frank and Dennis are just the worst.
Yeah. Well, a through line of this podcast, now that I've done 10 seasons of this or whatever, when you put the gang in front of real people, that's the thing. They're isolated a lot with their own little schemes and their own little people like Cricket. Like they even surround themselves with kind of their own mass of crappy people that hang around them. And so when they interact with a person from the real world, they're so confused. They keep saying this is on the Boggs account. They keep telling they're like, this is on the Boggs account. What?
I think that when Frank says he's a doctor, I can't remember the name that he made up, but it had the word Boggs in it too. It was like Bogman or Edgar Bogman or something like that. When he made
it very clever. Yeah.
Doctor name when he's offers to treat the kid that he gave sleeping pills to, or like crushed up sleeping pills and put them in the beer.
It's rough. So they're interacting with. That's why I love this episode so much, because you did take them out of their the gang's comfort zone. You put them in front of real, actual people who are mortified. I mean, how many shots of Dee just talking and blathering, and then they cut to whoever she's talking to, some mortified customer who's just sitting in their plane seat. I mean, yeah, they are causing so much chaos in this fucking plane.
And yet, the flight attendant still serves them up until almost the end of the episode, where she says they're cut off.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. She cuts them off kind of in the middle, and that's when they figure out, like, oh, we got beers down in the cargo hold, because as we know from movies from the 90s, we can get down there somehow. So Frank and Dennis are talking, they're talking about who they're gonna bang. And Frank just says, I've been laying chum up and down this plane.
Right.
I don't even really know what that means. I guess you lay chum for sharks and.
Right, yeah, it's a fishing. I thought it was a fishing terminology, but that's how I understood it.
It sounds even more disgusting coming out of his mouth. I don't know why.
He also asked the flight attendant, like, after he asked for a beer, he's like, do you guys also sell condoms?
He's laying chum up and down. We get to Dennis's. So we. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick to that.
Yeah.
Again, Frank, Dennis. How creepy is it that they both had already picked out a female target that they were going to, harass or prey upon, and they knew the seat number?
Oh God, I guess I didn't. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Dennis is like, I've already got mine picked out. So the of the 80 passengers on board, like 58 are women, and I'm, have my eye on the one in 33J.
Yeah, because that's next. I have Dennis's observation of this woman like playing out. So we get psychopathic Dennis in this.
Oh yeah, right? Just straight up psychopath.
He's reading everything that she's doing has to do with him, or he's reading it completely wrong because he's a psychopath and he wants to bang this chick.
Right. Yeah. Is creepy. I mean, I think the only way that it works, like in the modern era with Dennis, is that he fails, usually. Like, well, in this case, like she was happily married and she just didn't wear her wedding ring because her fingers swelled during the flight.
Right.
And then Dennis is so bad of a person that he then takes Frank's girl and they wind up in the cargo hold, which those lines are just, it's so awful, how he talks to her and it's just the worst.
Yeah.
And the situation is only kind of like redeemed by the fact that Mac is already in the cargo hold to fetch beers that he's brought on. And, Mac is like hiding behind the luggage watching.
What a sight. What a sight to be seen. And yeah, Dennis is, yeah, so you're right. We go through this whole thing. He picks her out. It doesn't work out. So he ends up going with this trashier woman as
The woman that Frank had targeted.
Yeah. I mean, he targeted, or mentioned.
They are predators. Just awful.
Yeah, Dennis makes, God, yeah, he is really mean to this woman as well. Because he makes some reference, I didn't write it down, but he's like, yeah, well, I just slipped it through multiple holes. And she starts laughing, and Dennis goes, don't laugh at that. Yeah, he is fucking mean to this woman. Did you have anything else before we moved on? I'm ready to go back to Charlie.
Why he got the plane? Like, he's such a bad person that he just gives up on friends. I mean, his family, Frank and Dee, abandons them just because he doesn't want to be around this person.
He doesn't want to deal with it. He mistook her for plains trash.
Right.
He thought she was desert trash, and she's plain trash.
No, other way.
Leave it at that.
He thought she was plains trash and would be getting off in North Dakota instead.
Oh, right.
Desert trash and doing the whole flight.
I mean, I've been to the Dakotas myself. You also have been. We'll just leave it at that. Fairly accurate. That's all I'll say. So yeah, he leaves. So Dennis is out. Dennis is out of the episode completely. This soiree at North Dakota comes back later on in the series. But
again, awfulness, just awfulness.
We'll get in. I'll break that down when it happens. So another Charlie line here. About Wade Boggs. He's speaking like he knows it. So Charlie's like, Boggsy didn't drink gallons of beer to break a record or something. He was just thirsty. I like that even. I like that as a philosophical thing too. Like, hey, these guys who did this in the 80s and 90s, these crazy things, they weren't trying to break a record, you know? They were just having fun and partying.
Doing it to do it.
They were just drinking 22 beers to fucking. They didn't have their cell phones back then. What else are you supposed to do from a? That's a long flight.
This episode stands out in that sense that Charlie is the most. I mean, other than the fact that he thinks Wade Boggs is dead, which is not, is the most keyed in or plugged in because he. Usually in the episode, like Charlie fails in some big way. He doesn't in this episode. Actually, he wins the contest. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but wins the contest. Ropes a pitch from Mac. In the batting sequence at the end.
Yeah.
It's one of the rare episodes where everything goes good for Charlie.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. I mean,
Wade Boggs even appears to Charlie in his, in the scene where Dee has her. I don't know if those scenes are back to back, but there's a scene
they are.
where they both start hallucinating. They're so wasted that he meets Boss Hogg, so who she thought was fucking Wade Boggs.
Yeah.
Meets the man himself, Wade Boggs, who awesome cameo.
When he shows up,
you could tell he was just giddy. I mean, the legend it definitely reflects pretty good on Wade Boggs.
Right.
Even chugs a beer with Charlie on camera, which is awesome.
They did not give him many lines. I don't know how good of an actor Wade Boggs is. It is always a risk when you put an athlete in an actor position. Right. So he didn't have that much to do. But when he shows up, it does tie it all together. Because, Charlie
he
was dead.
He was 11. Like, you could just tell he was 11.
Well, I mean, how could you not? And then, it goes right to Dee hallucinating about, and Boss Hogg's encouraging her to drink more. And Wade Boggs is like encouraging Charlie like to drink more and to beat the record and all that stuff. So they both have their hallucinating scene, which is pretty fun.
Right. Speaking of, I mean, can Dukes of Hazzard, when did they do that movie with Johnny Knoxville? How could that show could not be made today, right?
No, it cannot. And also, I mean, that one is, I feel like I personally missed it. You grew up in the South, so maybe people were like,
in the Ozarks, that was right in our wheelhouse. Like, I had the Dukes of Hazzard car. Me and my cousin would play Bo and Luke, and we would slide across the hoods, and do all that.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't gone back and revisited any of those episodes of Dukes of Hazzard from the 80s, but I'm going to say there's probably some difficult topics that are not treated as appropriately as they should be. I mean,
Sure.
like back and like their cousin is like walking around in like cut up jean shorts the whole time with just like her ass hanging out. If I
Oh,
remember
that's her cousin. I remember her. I don't know her name, but yeah, I remember that.
but there was some sort of like, there probably had to be some sort of love interest. I don't know why we're detouring on to Dukes of Hazzard, but like, I mean, I just distinctly remember now looking back on it, their car was called the General Lee.
Well, the car alone is super
Obvious
cool.
reference
Yeah.
to the Confederate War General Robert E. Lee.
It had
And
the thing on the top of the car.
the stars and bars, the Confederate
Yeah.
flag on top of the car. And I believe, if memory serves, whenever they would do a jump and like hit the horn, it would play the dun, da, 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 da.
Yeah. True. So yeah, I mean, okay. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has taken down episodes already that
It's too bad.
you can't find them on Hulu.
Yeah.
So even just a few years ago, so something from the 70s where those fuckers weren't talking about what's problematic and what's not when they were making a TV show. So yeah, we can go deep on the problems with 70s. So let's move on in our little plane here with the gang. Dennis is out. Frank eventually goes out as well. Just beer frothing at his mouth. It was disgusting. He's burping it all. It made me sick because I remember when you have too much beer and you're just like sitting there and it's cold, because this is like shitty beer. This is like Natural Light or whatever.
Yeah.
And just that feeling of, I felt Frank's grossness in this one.
They do a good job of depicting that throughout. Like at no point when they're drinking does it look pleasant. You know, like they're binge drinking and like it's just a struggle each time they complain about how cold the beer is. And they're belching it up and it's all over their shirts. And you know, Frank at the end like just runs out of gas and just, you know, on his knees in the aisle.
That is true because Dee takes a fucking big swig of it and she does go, oh, that's cold. Yeah. So Frank is out, so it's between Dee and Charlie towards the end here. That's kind of pretty much all I had because so they get off the plane. Dee eventually gets caught up on the what do you call it? That you put your baggage goes.
Conveyor belts.
Plane, I guess.
Yeah, in the baggage plane.
And we get a great physical comedy thing from Dee once again. Her butt's just sticking up in the air and her face is just mashed into. I enjoy that.
Go back to like Charlie rarely winning. Dee is the other character that rarely wins as well.
Yeah.
There was the first time I watched the episode, you didn't know who was going to come out on top or if either one of them were actually going to be able to do it because both of those characters always lose. Like something bad always happens to them in the end. And of course, Dee tied like with 71 beers as well, and she passed out on the baggage belt.
Right. Yeah, it's when it comes to alcoholism, though, I do feel like Dee and Charlie are set up to do well in that situation when it comes to drinking.
Yeah, I guess they would.
Charlie was still, what they do at the end is Charlie is so fucking bladdered that we get subtitles.
Yep, he can no longer speak.
So he's
He uses the bat as a crutch, or as a cane, which makes it hilarious that whenever Mac pitches to him, Charlie, like he must have played baseball, like at some point in his life because he's got a great swing and it just looks perfect. They've got the natural, like the music
from the natural
going on in the background, and he just ropes it.
Yeah. And then Mac's like, I don't want to get the ball. And then we just end. We get some great, baseball music in here as well. At the very end, we get baseball. We get, the seventh inning stretch, blah, 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 blah. That's all I had. Did you have anything else in your notes? before we move to the award winners.
That outro song I only knew from, I think we're talking baseball.
Yes.
I'm not sure what the actual name of the song is.
Oh, that's right.
I only knew that song my entire life up until we talked about doing this podcast episode as the song from The Simpsons. I never knew that was an actual song. I thought it was just a song that was on the Simpsons softball episode.
Right. I didn't know that either. I can't remember when I did find that out, but yes, it was. We first heard it on The Simpsons. That's regarded as one of the greatest episodes of The Simpsons of all time. Is that mashup of baseball players and all that kind of shit? So yeah,
Simpsons and Monorail Simpsons. Those would be my top two.
Yeah, those are big. Well, that's a whole. Oh God, I'm not doing a Simpsons breakdown of that show. I'm already nervous about Sunny. They signed on for 2 more years. I'm like, oh God, you guys.
I still find it funny. It's still, they're always pushing it. That's, we talk about how terrible these characters are and that they've taken down episodes. I completely understand that because, not to get into a whole other detour, but comedy usually pushes boundaries and can be offensive. And sometimes they get it wrong. Sometimes it's not funny. Like they went too far.
I think that's why they just decided it, because the ones they took down was the movie parody of, I want to say Die Hard, but it's not Die Hard. Lethal Weapon. They took down those because they kept switching the character of Glover. Yes.
Yep.
So those are not the episodes they are no longer available on Hulu. So I think the gang, the guys or whatever just decided like it's not even worth it.
No.
And they maybe even are like, why did we do that?
The bad thing in those instances, like even it gives people an excuse to laugh for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Which is distasteful and that's not what you want,
Yeah, exactly. So anything, I'm ready to give out awards here. So unless you had any more comments. Okay, great. Best line. So best line, I gave a few here. Did you have any on your? Boggsy didn't drink gallons of beer to break a record. He was just thirsty. I've been laying chum all up and down this plane. And Wade Boggs ate a chicken before each game. That's why they call him the Chicken Man.
Those are all good lines and easily could win. There's one with Frank where Dennis gets up to go to the bathroom and he goes to the bathroom, opens the door, and Frank has not locked the door. It's still green. That's why Dennis can open the door. And Frank is sitting on the stool. And an airplane bathroom is just big enough for your body.
Right.
And he's just sitting there. And like Dennis is like, why didn't you lock the door, Frank? He's like, no, I don't have to go chasing anybody around this plane. They're going to be coming to the bathroom. That's half the battle. It's like lambs to the slaughter.
Oh, fuck. Well,
there's also like another awful Dennis line where he his love interest in the episode wants to kiss him.
Oh God!
Like, no, I don't do anything with the lips.
Now that we're talking about it, something is coming back in my brain because there's back to what we were saying. They're so mean to the staff. They're so mean to the staff, and they keep asking for maximum beers every time she comes along. So we go to a commercial, like in the middle of the episode. Dennis and Frank are sitting there talking about who they're going to bang, and right before the commercial hits, the woman comes over, and Dennis goes, 6 beers, please. So like that's a constant too. Because at the beginning of the episode, they're like, how many can I get in one sitting?
Right.
Which they'd have. It's usually 2. There's no way they're going to serve 6 beers. Well, so those were good, Frank. I'm going to go with Chum. Laying Chum got a good laugh, even with just us talking about it. So I think.
I am curious that it is about. It has to be about fishing, right? That's what they like.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Well, crack this up.
The flight attendant, if they sell condoms on the plane, they got a pretty big laugh out of me too whenever he does it. It's just, he's sitting there with that white T-shirt. First off, like the white T-shirt where they're like actually keeping tally on the shirts is so funny.
Awesome.
a funny element too. And like Frank just looks disgusting the whole time. There's a stain on it. And as he looked up at her with those eyes of his, he was like, "You guys have condoms too on this plane?"
Oh, Jesus. Well, who won the episode?
Charlie, hands down. Charlie wins the contest, meets Wade Boggs in the process, has a nice chicken dinner, and shows off his athletic prowess with the natural music playing behind him, is embraced by Mac, who awards him as, the winner. Like, there's a clear-cut winner. It's Charlie. Charlie won this episode.
Can I make any case for D? Just because it's just a pepper.
No, D, bless her heart, like, classic D storyline. Like, she almost got it and didn't, Like,
she's killing it. I mean, like I said, that beginning of the episode, she's taking this very seriously. She is drinking. She brought performance enhancers. She's ready to rock and roll. But all right. Yeah, Charlie wins. I mean, he makes it through the whole thing. We can't give it to Dennis. He doesn't make it through the whole thing.
Dennis is the biggest loser of the episode. I think Dennis definitely lost the episode the most.
Oh, God. He doesn't even have that much to lose to begin with. All right, so there you go. Those are the winners. That's it. We sufficiently broke this down. How do you feel about it?
Feel pretty good. Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Of course. Well, like I said, you can find all the episodes on Mentele Speaks for the rest of season 10, so go check that out. So yeah, Brian, anything else before we sign off the year?
No. One last thing about the Dukes of Hazzard. Whenever Dee has her, whenever Boss Hogg appears to her, that's him, right? Is he still alive?
I didn't even look it up, to be honest. He would.
Guy, or from my memory of what that guy looked like, but even just more than looked like him, and it sounded like him, I think that's that actor. Which maybe it's one of those instances where whenever you're a little kid and you see these people, they look like they're old.
Yeah.
And I think it was
and they might have been 52 at the time.
I bet he was in his late 30s, early 40s.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, there you go.
Character, and now he's actually as old as he was playing on the Dukes of Hazzard. Or that's what I would like to think. I'm not even going to look this up. I want to think that was the real Boss Hogg.
Let's just say, just like people said Wade Boggs drank 40 beers and the story gets elaborated each time and whatever. Yes, let's say that is a true thing.
All right.
In the spirit of the episode, that is absolutely true. That is the character. Well, thanks for hanging out, Brian, and thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.